Hey, what's up? Welcome to episode 15 with One Tired Teacher. And today is engaging students in learning. And I am so excited about my guest. You are going to love it. His name is Chris Kesler from Kesler Science, and he is amazing. All right, let's get started.
Welcome to One Tired Teacher. And even though she may need a nap, this teacher is ready to wake up and speak her truth about the trials and treasures of teaching. Here she is, wide awake. Wait, she's not asleep right now, is she? She is awake, right? Okay. From Trina Debery Teaching and Learning, your host, Trina Debery.
So, hey, I'm so glad you're with me today because I have a very special guest. But before we get to him, I'd like to give a shout out to a review that I got on iTunes, and it's Spy DRJSS, and she says, or he says, "Yay! I'm so excited about this podcast. You have so much to offer the education community. I'm so glad you are sharing your knowledge and spirit. Can't wait to hear what's next." Thank you so much for that very kind review, and I'm excited to be here. And I would love to hear more from you all. So if you have a review for me, go ahead and give me a shout out on iTunes and I'll read your review next. And I'm so excited about our today's guest. I am in awe of him. I think he is definitely one of my education superheroes. Chris Kesler, who is from Kesler Science Resources, and he is amazing. I first met Chris when we were at a conference, many years ago, and I was just drawn to his passion and enthusiasm about getting kids to love to learn. The approach that he takes and the strategies that he uses, like escape rooms and inquiry labs, are all such a great way to get kids to learn and to be motivated and highly engaged. So I am just beside myself excited to have Chris with us today. Chris has created an educational empire that offers insight, motivation, and all things necessary to teach. He takes the tired out of teaching and gives teachers their time back and gives them phenomenal choices in teaching. Welcome, Chris. So will you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I am Chris Kesler, for those of you who don't know, and I was a former middle school science teacher. I now write curriculum full-time for middle school science teachers. I did not have the traditional path of a teacher. I was actually a terrible student in school, and it took me a while to get back to college. I didn't graduate college until I was 28 years old. I didn't find myself probably until I was like 30 years old, which is about the time that I got married. And so I was just a late bloomer. And I bounced around from retail job to retail job and ended up getting a degree in computer information systems in college. And then I went and worked for a tech company in Austin, Texas, for about 8 years, where I was a systems analyst when I left that position.
Wow.
And I basically just I saw the writing on the wall with that company. I actually got let go, not because of a bad performance, but because it basically trained myself out of a job. I went over to Bangalore, India, and trained a bunch of people over there. And next thing you know, it's like, hey, you don't have a job anymore. So
wow.
I just wanted to do so. I knew that was going to be the way that tech was going to flow the rest of my career. And it wasn't something I was interested in. And it just wasn't rewarding to me. So I went back and got an alternative certification to teach. So I did not start teaching until in my 30s. And my first job teaching was a sixth grade science teacher half-time and art teacher the other time. So I taught three sections of art. And the criteria for getting this art teacher job was I think I answered 3 questions on some certification tests that I literally know nothing about art. And it was absolutely ridiculous that I was teaching art, but we had a blast. I got to integrate science into the art class and vice versa. And we just had a blast with it. And I love the kids would always say, "Hey, Mr. Kesler, like, when are you going to bring your art to school?" I was like, I
No,
felt
not
like
doing
such a
that. Yeah.
sham, right? But we had a blast. They were in sixth grade. They did,
Mhm.
you can't get too art technical at that point. So, yeah. And then I taught, over the years, I taught sixth, seventh, and eighth grade middle school science, and got to a point where I was in the classroom and creating these really cool and engaging different lessons. And people in the
Mhm.
district were like, man, this stuff's really great. And one day my wife happened to be searching on Teachers Pay Teachers for a lesson. She was a third grade teacher.
Oh.
And she's like, Chris, you could do this stuff. You have a great tech background. You're good, personality. Like it just seems like a perfect fit for you. You should try to do something like that. And ended up doing, selling a couple things on Teachers Pay Teachers, and really kind of put some focus there, and in
Mhm.
turn made my own lessons better. And so I became a better teacher because of Teachers Pay Teachers, for sure. Because now not only was it just my own students, using the lessons, but classes all over the country were now using those. And it
Yeah.
got to a point where I really started enjoying that more than being in the classroom. And I felt like, I know this is very cliche, but I really did feel like I could, and I do feel I 100% know
Mhm.
that I can reach a lot more students and teachers
Yeah.
doing what I'm doing now. So that's kind of where we're at this point.
Yeah, and you have, because you have built like quite a Kesler Science empire.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating. I've developed quite the following, and just the community is like one of the things that I'm super proud of. Is I've got a Facebook group that is I think it's 12 to 13,000
Wow.
some science teachers that are just, I always call it like the teachers lounge you wish you had in school. And
Absolutely.
you're
I
in there,
am.
and
I
so
am in there. And it's like
you
my
see that,
favorite, it's my favorite group because
yeah, you see.
it's like they rally around each other and they support each other and they answer questions. I mean, like you're in it. I mean, you talk, but it's like you've developed like such a community of where people, they feel like they can talk themselves too. And I love it. It's
Absolutely.
really
Yeah,
great.
it's really amazing that a teacher could come in there with a problem or a question, and it's almost instantaneously that answers are coming out, and it's from all different parts of the country and all different kinds of classrooms. And it's just a fascinating really thing to watch. And
It really is.
it's truly an organic thing that I never intended it to be anything like has become. But it's a great place. I'm really proud of that.
Well, that has a lot to do with you as a person and like what you draw to yourself. And I mean, it's just a reflection of that. Like people are able to speak and they're able to talk and they feel supported. And then they're also able to find really good answers to questions and really good resources. And that's what you provide. So I think that it's amazing. And I'm going to link to that in the show notes and to your store and to your website, because if people haven't found you, they need to find you, because I think that you are making like such a huge difference.
Yeah, go ahead. I was just going
Oh
to
yeah.
add that, like one of the things I really, really enjoy doing is just making those connections between people. So I like being the facilitator. I love, saying, just kind of like a marketplace would be like, here's the product and here's the person who wants the product. You guys have met and go on and have great lives together. And I really do that with the science teachers. Like, a lot of people have said that they have developed friendships because of that, and have traveled to conferences together and stayed in hotel rooms because of the group.
That's so
That's just like
cool.
really cool. It's super
Yeah. It is really cool. I love that. And I do. I see it, and I think, and that's not evident in every group. I mean, I feel like I'm in a million groups, and it's not evident in every single group you're
cool.
in. And that's the thing that's so powerful about yours. And you as a person, because I said it in the beginning that I was like drawn to like how passionate you are about education and like putting good resources, quality resources in the hands of teachers. And because I think that like some of the things that we're getting are not
Crap.
great, and they
Yeah,
make it, and
crap.
they
I
make
mean,
it, yeah, they're crap.
yeah. Let's just be fair, but I mean, I love Teachers Pay Teachers, and I think a teacher can go out there and find amazing resources. But the dark side of it is anyone can post stuff there. It's not necessarily vetted before it gets onto the site. And so you really have to do your due diligence as a teacher to find the stuff that has great reviews, has been, peer reviewed by other teachers around the country.
Yes.
And it's there, it exists. I mean, that it is a
Mhm.
fantastic marketplace for teachers to get lessons that are super engaging.
Absolutely. And I love I mean, you do have to use your judgment, but I think you kind of you have to do that anyway. I mean,
Hmm.
I think honestly, I think you're kind of trained not to do that because they can give you any resource and then you're just supposed to just use it
Yeah,
and not ask questions about it sometimes, which I often found very frustrating because,
that's
yeah.
super frustrating. I was very fortunate to be in a, mm, yeah, I'm going to say like the years in the classroom, I was very fortunate that my principals, both principals that I had, I was only in two campuses, but both of them were very supportive. Gave us some autonomy to come up with our own lessons. Like I said,
Mhm.
here, these are the standards you need to develop the lessons that you feel are going to work for your kids. And so I know that not everyone is supported in that way, and it's just shameful because it takes a lot of the fun
It totally
out of
does.
out of the teaching, and especially if you can see flaws in the lessons or resources that you're provided, um,
Mandated to use.
or
Yeah.
mandated, or like some of the, a lot of the stuff they say, well, that this lesson's been done before. I saw this on Teachers Pay Video, it's been done before, but has it really been set up the way that like that all the printables are there for you, that the exact directions are there? Like you can go onto Pinterest and spend hours just spinning your wheels on finding like, yeah, cute pictures and blog posts, but do you really have like a comprehensive lesson that you're going to be able to use in your classroom? And that's where I think Teachers Pay Teachers just shines above everywhere else as far as finding awesome resources eh, be- because a lot of the stuff has been done right, but
Yes. It
it's
hasn't been
just
done
amazing.
well. It's kind of just
It
given you.
hasn't been
Yeah.
well,
They've just
right?
given you pieces. Sorry, go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah. No, I was going to just say like the like STEM challenges, for example. I know
Mhm.
that that's kind of like one of my big product lines is we've got these STEM challenges. Well, for elementary school, I think it's okay to say, hey, let's have some fun and try to build a bridge, and we're gonna do it in 30 minutes and whatever. And this is the challenge. But and there are lessons to be learned there. But what I did is I took it the next level. It's a 5-day project that we're integrating science. Why
Mhm.
is this type of bridge better than this? And you're reflecting on your failures along the way. And this is the true engineering design process that
I love that.
that everyone in the that builds anything or creates anything has to go through. And that's what I think that's what a lot of the lessons are really missing is the
I
real
think you're
world
right. Yeah.
application.
And the
Yeah.
actual integration of science and
Sure, sure.
engineering and technology. Like I think and I do. What do you feel like? I definitely think that as far as like the math integration, doesn't it feel like it's more natural, whatever it is that you need the math for? Like if you're graphing, you're analyzing data, or you're working on some kind of problem like that. But I don't think it necessarily means take what you're doing in math currently, even if you're teaching, time to the nearest hour or whatever, and put that into your STEM unit.
Yeah,
I
no,
think that's a
absolutely
misunderstanding.
not. I totally, and not every STEM project has to have math. I think that's also a limiting belief. Is like, oh well, it has to incorporate numbers somewhere. Well, no, it doesn't. And an engineering project it may not.
Yeah.
Some of the projects we do have budgets that students have to follow, and they're really having to be resourceful with their budgets and using their financial literacy to
Yes.
make sure that they stay under budget. But some don't, and that's
No.
okay, right?
But
Yeah,
that you do a good job of incorporating those kind of skills, those real world skills
yeah. That's
that students need, that we all need. And it makes it so much more like meatier. I don't know. I'm trying to think of a word for that. Like it's just got good solid content in there and they're
mhm,
almost learning by accident because
for sure.
yeah, I love that. And I think you would have totally changed, or your lessons, your materials would have changed science for me as a middle schooler. I didn't like it actually until I was in high school and I had my first, biology class and we were dissecting frogs. And for some reason I thought that was really cool. But we were actually doing things with our hands, unlike the rest of the experiences I had.
Mhm.
And even my son, like he really likes science and he's in ninth grade, but I always am like, oh, I wish your teachers were using Kessler's materials, because he would be in love with science. Like the whole escape room. I want you to talk about that, because I think
Yeah,
that
definitely.
sounds so fun.
One of the things that and I've never, I guess, verbally said this before, but one of the things that I was thinking of while you were talking is, if I can get a student, and I don't want to use the word trick, but I'm going to say, if I can trick you into having fun and engaging experience without thinking that you're learning about science, then I've won, right? Then I have won the day that you are actually learning, you're having fun. And that's kind of where those escape rooms come into hand. So what, traditionally what an escape room is you may have seen these in the mall or whatever, where you get locked into a room for an hour and you have some mission to get out, and you have to do some codes and do some puzzles and whatever. So what I did is I took the content that the students should have been learning over the last, whatever, 2 weeks or 6 weeks, or for the unit or whatever it is, and I turned those into a series of puzzles that were all based around a theme. So what we did was we created these little video introductions that have a challenge that's been issued to the students, like whatever, a mad scientist has taken over your classroom and created a formula that's going to blow up your cafeteria, or whatever it is, right? And it's your job to use your knowledge of atoms and chemical formulas and balancing equations to to unlock the final code to break into his lab and steal the plans, or whatever it is.
Yes.
Yeah, it's so fun. I mean,
Yeah.
and the kids, like, you're instantly engaged within the first 45 seconds of class, when that's the little video that's playing, right when the bell rings, that video plays. The kids are like, oh, hell yes. Like, we're going to do this for, 45 minutes. Heck yeah. Well, I'm totally invested in it. And, got 8 puzzles that the students do. And we've even made it, I kind of take I always try to take it and add a level to it. And, a lot of escape rooms out there require the big boxes, and you have to go in this sequential order and use physical locks. Well, you could do that. But with my escape rooms, we call them modular, meaning if we've got these 8 puzzles, they don't necessarily go in an order. The teacher can take out puzzle 4 and puzzle 6 if they want to.
That's great.
And the kids can still complete the whole task. And we've even created digital locks. So the students go and do a digital Google form, and they enter a code. And if the code's wrong, it tells them, like, you're never going to escape again, or whatever. Like, it taunts them, right? We're taunting the kids, and like, you're not going to get this. And the kids love it. I mean, I
was going to say, I can't even imagine.
The percentage of teachers have come back and said that, like, this was the best activity that we did all year long, is really high. So kids really love it, and they're talking about science.
Absolutely.
That's it. When they don't even realize it too. And that's the best part.
I think that's when we grab them, we hook them when they're learning by accident. I think that I just read an article, and even when you were talking, I was thinking about it, and they were kind of negative about the whole, why do we have to make learning fun? And I was thinking, what do you mean? Why we have to make learning fun? Like that's how we do get them so excited about learning. What do you say to that?
Yeah, I say that there's that old theory, or that old saying about don't put on a dog and pony show or whatever. You have to do that when the admin comes in and does your final evaluation or whatever. It's just like I was, like I mentioned, earlier on, I was a terrible student. And if you're not going to engage me, I was the kid that sat in the back of the class. I was never really a disruptive kid, although my senior year that's a different story. But I was never really a disruptive kid. And I would look you straight in the eye, but I wasn't hearing anything. I mean, it literally just was going in one ear and out the other. I was daydreaming about what's for lunch, or, who I'm going to hang out with after school, or, I wasn't a bad kid. I was just disengaged. I was apathetic. I didn't see the need. I just didn't care. Yeah. And that I think that had a huge impact on my teaching. And when I got into the classroom as a teacher, I was like, I'm after that kid, because I know who that is. I know what that kid looks like. And And that's the kid that I'm going to attack, and that's the one I'm going to hit. Because, and I say this every once in a while, it's like, believe it or not, not every kid in your classroom needs you. There's a lot of kids that they don't need you, and they're going to be successful. They're going to be fine and great. We need to challenge them and bring them to the next level. But there are a lot of kids that do, and those are the ones I really try to focus my time on. And did I hit all of them? No, I didn't. I'm not going to sit here and lie and say that.
You reached every kid.
Yeah, every kid that came in my class was a changed person, and I transformed. Like that. Give me a break. That doesn't happen. But I changed a lot of them, and that's better than what I would have done had I just been standing up in the front of the classroom lecturing or done book work or whatever.
Or they're just taking notes, which I feel like is a big thing that my son does. He's like, we just took notes. We took notes in science all day.
It's terrible. Like,
it's
kids,
so sad. He's you. Like he was, I mean, he's not you, but you know what I mean? Like he's not engaged. He doesn't care.
Mm-hmm.
He's not motivated. And I feel like, and this is definitely true of you from what I've seen, is that we were missing out on like this genius, like this type of genius. And like, we literally have kids in our classrooms that are geniuses. I even feel that way about my own brother, like totally disengaged and didn't care. And I'm like, and now, I mean, he's brilliant. And we missed it. Like we just totally missed it. We let those kids sit in the back and we said nothing to them, and we didn't try to engage them or try to win them over. I also think it's really interesting that we pick the kids that where we struggled, or we had feel like we had some kind of a, like for me, I didn't feel good about myself as a learner. So I'm always drawn to those kids that have low self-esteem and don't feel like they're smart enough or good enough. And so like, that was always I'm like, I'm going to win you over. Like, I'm going to get you to love learning and to love yourself. And so I think it's interesting that we gravitate towards like similar, like people almost.
Yeah, and I think that's probably true, in the profession. I mean, I think most people probably do that. Teaching is a calling for most of us, and it's for that reason, because like, all right, I kind of know this experience, and I know I adapt it, and I can change the kids that are experiencing similar issues.
Because you kind of know what obstacles you're going to come against, which is actually one of my questions. Like, what obstacles have you found to engaging students?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, there's just some kids that are just dug in, and, whatever. They come from extreme poverty. They've got a mother that has 3 jobs that they never see. They raise their little kids. Like that wasn't me. That's not how I grew up. And I think I can relate to that, right? I can have a conversation about what that may look like, but sometimes that was really hard for me to even begin that conversation. And so when those kids were just like, forget this, I'm out, whatever you're going to do, like escape room, whatever. Yeah. I think what I did is I just moved it away from school, and I just had conversations with kids, and I would go and do things like sit with them at lunch. You'd be shocked at the kids, generally these kinds of kids are sitting with other kids who are like them, probably not the most disciplined kids in the school. Right.
Yes.
And a teacher comes up and says, Hey guys, can I sit here and have lunch with you? They're like, heck yeah, that's pretty cool. Right. And then we'll just talk like, a lot of I led this boys club, and it was about 15 boys that's
cool.
They were tough kids. I mean, these kids were tough kids. And so I got to get real with these guys, and I got to kind of talk guy talk with them. And that was just,
well, they probably didn't have that. They don't have those strong.
That. Yeah. Right. And that could have been, right. Their dad could have been in jail or just missing in action or what, whatever it is. And all of a sudden, a male role model who has a job, wants to have a relationship with you. Like that's important to those kids. And so, just little things like that, again, I'm not going to take a kid who makes 25s on everything, and all of a sudden he's going to be a B student or whatever.
Yes.
But whatever, maybe I can get that kid to try harder on a test or be more engaged or work with a a group that he doesn't typically like to work with or whatever, just by having the relationship with them. One of
Absolutely.
the pieces of advice I got very early on is like, you can see those types of kids instantly, first couple days of class. Right. And so he was like, the guy that had told me this, he's like, you latch onto those kids, and anytime you need something done or something led, like you let those kids do it. If you need,
Yes.
and that's what I would do. Hey, you come up and work the slides today. And it just
I
kept
love
them
that. Yeah,
focused, engaged. It kept them feeling important. It gave them
absolutely.
self-worth, gave them some confidence that they're not necessarily, the focus isn't on them because of the class clown, but now the focus is on them because, they have some important role in the
Yeah,
classroom, and
they
maybe
have a purpose.
yeah, they have a purpose.
Yeah, that's important.
It's, science is one thing I taught, and then,
Art. Yeah.
it's life. Well, it's the life lessons, right? It's,
Right.
you're just teaching relationships, and that's what we all do.
You're right. And that really sometimes is the most important thing for some kids. Like they need that. They can't even begin to learn because their basic needs are not being met. So when you do things like boys clubs and you do things like that, then you're meeting a need that they may not even be aware of, and that might change and trickle into their academics as well.
Right. At the end of the year, if they didn't learn the rock cycle, who cares? Like, I honestly don't care. But if you learn to now maybe be respectful to women, or to your teachers, or to elders, or you take some pride in yourself, or a passion that you may have at home because you like to work on cars or whatever it is, and you learn that from me, then hey, that's a win. We won.
Absolutely. That's totally a win. So what about okay, so you can't get them in escape rooms, which I can't even imagine not getting kids engaged in that. What do you think about, I feel in this generation, we've got a lot of instant gratification, they want that. And so gaming and things like that, do you utilize that approach at all?
So I never did gamification. I read some books on gamification, and I really wanted to. The platforms, when I left the classroom, it was 2015, and the platforms were kind of just coming online where we could do some of that stuff, and I just never got around to doing it. I think it's awesome, and I think that it does. I know because it for me, so I'm a big gamer. I'm, whatever.
Really? Wow.
I'm 44 years old, and I play lots of video games for fun, right? That's what I enjoy.
Yeah.
And you get these stupid little achievement points for doing little things in the games, and they're completely meaningless. They don't add up to anything. You don't get to buy anything because they're meaningless, but whatever, it keeps you going.
Yes.
I think it, excuse me, it totally works in the classroom as well. And I know there's lots of great books out there on gamification, and classes that have completely, it's student led. The whole class is based on a gaming system, and kids level up and learn different things based on where they're at. And I think it's cool.
Yeah, I think it's fun too. I had a gaming teacher at a gaming class in my master's program, and he made us play World of Warcraft. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. I totally did not want to do that. But then we had to, it was part of, our assignment.
Wow.
So I did it, and I'm like, oh my goodness. I'm like, this is crazy. And he gave such a good message about how you could almost relate it to the zone of proximal development. He's like, when you're playing a game, you're in your exact right zone, because it's not so unbelievably hard that you would quit and say, forget it, I don't want to play anymore. And it's not so easy that you're like, oh, this is, I've already got to the top level. He's like, it's in your exact perfect, area. And I'm like, that makes so much sense. And he's like, if you can get kids to feel like this, where it's not, not too challenging, not too easy. And he's like, then you've got them in the perfect zone. And so I don't know, I took that and I'm like, that makes sense. And kids, they love games. But I think an escape room is kind of a type of game.
Oh, it certainly is. Yeah, it certainly is. And we do the traditional board games where, it's kind of like a Trivial Pursuit type thing. But I think just changing it up all the time, and not just this day do this day do that. It's every 10 minutes we're changing something up. we're doing some, we're getting up, we're moving around the class like that. You have to be engaged that way, right? You're required to be.
Yeah. And that eliminates a lot of like behavior issues as well. So I think when you're teaching in that method, then you've got kids constantly, you're kind of keeping them on their toes. One thing I want to know when you're talking about like the in depth that you go, like for example with the STEM challenges, like what if you're talking to like an elementary school teacher or even like a primary teacher, first grade, second grade, younger kids where you're required to teach every single subject. I mean, a lot of schools don't do, like we had a platooning model, but that was when I worked for the greatest person ever and he got promoted to the district level. So he did the same thing. He let us have a lot of autonomy. So we got to create our own things. I loved it. We just had our own, like we kind of got our own professional development tracks, everything. Like it was very open in that way. But so I know there's a lot of teachers that they are required to teach every single thing. And they look at STEM challenges and they're like, how am I going to incorporate all of this and make them like really academically, like and more intense, more rigorous. I hate that word, but in that sense. And then at the same time, like teach reading and writing and social studies, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's really frustrating for an elementary teacher. And I get asked all the time, like, hey, Chris, like you have this whole huge market in elementary. Why you should be writing elementary. But here's the problem. I never taught elementary. And that's a whole nother level of like that's just it's like another human, right? There's younger kids. And I don't know exactly how they learn. I think I could take my content and absolutely modify it down. But at the same time, I don't know how that works in the classroom. So I'm always very leery to even, I always just steer them towards other TPT teachers that do it really well. So there's no, like Science Penguin, she does amazing stuff on TPT. If you're an elementary teacher, just definitely check her out. But, when you're writing those kinds of STEM challenges in any lesson, it was interesting. I started writing a book last week. And so I've got to think about this stuff a lot lately, but really if you have to have the objective up front first, like what is it that you want these students to learn and really break it down into not just like the big topic. Students can predict and the lunar cycle and the next phases they're going to come up, right? So they have to be able to do that. And then how are you going to get them to do that? So once you know the exact learning objectives on what you want, then you can build these great engaging activities around them.
Around the standard.
So, and for an elementary teacher who's doing 4 preps or oh gosh, that just sounds terrible to me.
Yeah, but, it's a lot.
I mean, it's a lot of work.
Definitely a lot, yes.
It's that's where I would say to lean on people that have already done it, like like TPT or get on Pinterest and find some activities where that's already done for you, that it's aligned with your goals. And if it integrates over to science is easy because there's it's all going to integrate over to ELA standards.
Absolutely, because there's so much informational text. Yeah, I agree, and that's I've done a lot of that.
And all that stuff.
Yes.
Sure.
I've done a lot of that stuff myself because it's so hard to find informational text that is appropriate for a first grader or second grader. So that's actually something that I've been working on that I enjoy. But what do you think about like even just going through the process, like the engineering design process, even if it's not heavily science content, but it's just the idea of them problem solving and trying to like, I have actually been doing recently these makerspace moments in literature is what I've called them. And I'm starting to wonder, like, I've tied science in there, but I feel like it's looser than it is around the fact that I want them to come up with a solution to whatever the problem is in the story. But they're still like thinking like an engineer. And I feel like at a young age, like getting them exposed to that kind of thinking, that there's some value in that. What do you think?
I totally agree. I mean, that's how the real world works. I mean, that, I would never suggest that like, you need to be doing college level work in an elementary school classroom, but it's problem solving. At the end of the day, it's problem solving. It's learning how to learn. again, I lean back on science was just my content. It's really, if you could learn how to learn, and that's what you learn from my class, then again, that's a
Yeah,
huge win. If you
that's the
can
one.
learn how to be resourceful,
Mhm.
that's if you can learn where to go find answers and read directions, then you're helping every teacher that's going to be beyond them, right? So if you start planting those seeds in, let's say in third grade and fourth grade, that hey, answers exist and they're out there, you just have to learn how to be resourceful and find them.
Yeah,
Then
no,
that,
you're
I mean,
right.
that, and those types of activities that you're creating, and it sounds like that, that you were creating, that's what they're teaching. That's what it's teaching them to do. And that helps the learner, the whole learner, right? The whole way along their
Yes,
career.
the
And
whole
that's one thing I remember taking I think I was forced to take this class. I don't think everyone took this class, but it was a study skills class. And I was a freshman year in high school,
Uh-huh.
and it was learning how to study. And I just never made the connection.
Uh-huh.
I was a terrible learner. And now it's so interesting because I feel like I've led two totally different lives. Like
Mhm.
my, um, elementary, middle school, or my grade school life. And even in my college life, because I hadn't practiced it,
Yes.
I struggled in college. Um, but now, like, I am a learner. Like, I am resourceful. I can go find information. I know how to learn. I know how to analyze information and put it together. And
Yeah.
you know, and
It clicked for you. It finally
it
clicked
just
for you.
clicked. It just,
Yeah.
yeah, it was, yeah, it took about 35 years, but whatever. It ended up clicking. And
No, but I think it's important. And I think it's important even at a young age because I mean, I have said that. I used to say that to my students. I'm like, I'm going to give you the gift of problem solving.
mhm,
And they'd be like, oh, and I'm like, you're going to be so thankful once you've solved this problem all on
yeah,
your own.
yeah.
Because they really, I think sometimes we're thinking too much for them and they're not getting enough of an opportunity to kind of
and
learn from failure.
they're scared to
Yeah.
fail,
And
right?
we need to embrace failure.
Right. We totally need to, like, again, back to video games. My son, who's 5 years old, we were playing a video game the other day, and it's got all these little mini games, and one of them is challenging, and he was
Mhm.
like, "Dad, we're not playing this anymore. And I can't do this. I'm not doing it." I'm like, "The heck you are. You're going to do it, and
Yeah.
you're going to be persistent, and
Uh-huh.
you're going to fail over and over until you finally get it." Because I knew he could get it.
Yeah.
And the second he got it, he was like, that's all he played yesterday. He was like
So funny.
playing that same one little game because he knew how to do it now. And
Yeah, because he got through. He like powered
he
through.
just powered through persistence. And
Yeah. That's so I'm glad he got out of the tree.
yeah,
That
yes,
he made it
yes,
safely out of the tree.
yes. There was a
All right.
Facebook
So my
post over the
actually,
weekend that he was in a
yeah,
tree. Yeah.
so funny. So how are you feeling about the current state of education?
I'm a little more bullish on the state of education than a lot of people are. I think there's always been a lot of problems, right? So teachers have always been underpaid. That's since
Absolutely.
day one, teachers have always been underpaid. There's at least to my knowledge, and at least in my lifetime, there's never been a time when teachers are like, man, we're really paid well for
Yeah,
what we do, right?
I
Like, gosh, I can't believe someone would give me $50,000 to do this job. Like,
know.
you're not going to hear that.
Yeah, no,
Um,
never.
I,
So true.
I'm in a non-union state. Like, it is what it is. Like the
Mhm.
pay is what it is. And I always felt, that my money, the money that I made was worth my time and effort in the classroom. And I did the best job possible. So I'm bullish on public education,
Mhm.
more so than a lot of people. I think that there are better things coming. I think
Yeah.
as people understand cognitive development more and more, that whatever, something, maybe it's going to involve tech, maybe we're going to swing away from tech and realize that that's not the answer. And
Mhm.
but I think that there's going to be um, I'm bullish on it. I'm
Yeah.
hopeful that we'll get it right. And
I hope so too. I think it's going to take it. I think it's going to have to require it coming from the ground up, though. I think it's going to
yeah,
have to be
totally. It
teachers,
starts. Yeah,
grassroots.
it starts with teachers and local districts and communities and regions and then states. For me, I'm okay with my state having different standards than your state. I think
Yeah.
that's totally
Yeah.
fine. I guess I'm going to say this publicly. I don't personally believe in like national set of standards. Because like where we learn about hurricanes and science in Texas, like someone in Iowa does not need to be necessarily learning
No,
about the impact of hurricanes and erosion to,
you're
coast.
right.
But it's just, they just don't need that same
Yeah.
knowledge.
Yeah. That
I
makes sense. We need it in Florida for
leave it
sure.
to the states. Yes, you do. Yes, definitely
Yeah.
do.
But earthquakes, on the other hand. So,
Sure. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
well, I do you have anything further that you'd like to say? Like, what are you working on now?
Yeah.
Your book?
So, I mentioned I was working on a book, and this is something I've never written a book before, and we were talking before the podcast that it's a lot more challenging than I was expecting it to be. I got about 20 to 25,000 words written last week. I rented a little beach house, and it wasn't little. It was actually a really nice beach house in Galveston last week. And I left the family at home, and my wife took care of the kids because she's a saint. And she said, go be your creative self, and
That's
really
great.
allowed me to get creative and just kind of look at my educational philosophies and what I did in the classroom, why I think it works. And because I get emails, it's nonstop every single day about, hey, how do you do this? How would you do this? What did your classroom look like in this particular way? And so this book is going to be the answer to that.
Yes.
I'm not intending to, at least as of right now, I'm not intending to be on Amazon and be some top selling book, but it's going to be a free book. I'm actually going to give it away.
Really? Wow.
Just shipping. I'm not going to lose money on it. I'm going to pay.
Yeah.
I require shipping and handling, but it's going to be the answer to all of those questions that a middle school science teacher may have about me, and it's going to give kind of an entry point into the Kesler Science ecosystem and why we do the things we do. And
I think that's great because I think all teachers, not even just middle school, and I think elementary school teachers, high school teachers would definitely benefit from knowing that information as well. Like you're just a wealth of, like, it's interesting to like pick your brain. I have been very fascinated. And I really appreciate you doing this.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, Trina. Yeah, I really appreciate you.
I really appreciate you.
And I really appreciate you too. So thank you for sticking around. Now maybe you can see why this guy is one of my educational superheroes. I have linked to Kesler Science in the show notes so you can see all that Chris has to offer. So go check them out. Also, I have a free Makerspace Moment in Literature freebie included. So go grab that as well. I would love to hear your thoughts on engaging learners. So leave a comment and I might just share it on the podcast. Also, I would love for you to rate, review, and subscribe. This one tired teacher is ready for a nap. Until next time, sleep tight.